Alright guys, so here's my funny little setup that I've got going on. It's my little funny TV tray. And I just have a piece of, or a stack of white paper with my silver earrings. And it's outside, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Over here, I'm in my courtyard, in my building, and it's still pretty brightly lit. I wouldn't go any later than maybe 5 o'clock to take photos where I live. It might be different where you're at. But you can kind of see, this is like my setup, and if I were to crop it into a square, which is what I generally do for my e-commerce site, you can see that it's nice and clean and white. Now, I'll show you in a second how I take photos using the Camera Plus 2 app, and that will show you how I would take photos on this. And the white balancing and the exposure all in one shot, so there isn't any editing involved. That would be on the white, and then this. So the iPhone will auto white balance as well, but it's just not as good as if you were to. And you can see actually how the wood changes colors once I start inserting different elements into the camera. You see, because it's trying to autocorrect, and that's something that you can do manually through the app or many other apps if you already have one. And I've listed them on the PDF, so it's just something to remember. Let's see, changes. So here is the Camera Plus 2 app. I'm in the white balance, and I am locking it in so that we get a nice true white, and I'm playing with the exposure so that the white is really bright and not that kind of bluish tone. And I'm doing this before I snap the photo, which I just did, so that I can minimize the actual cleanup and editing post-photo. I'm going to go into the little daisy. I'm playing with the exposure right there, and checking out the final photo. I don't feel like I need to do any editing, so I'm just going to save it. And there's the final photo. Looks great. Just a quick reminder, when you are taking photos of your pieces with natural light, 100% natural light, that is what you want to go for. You do not want to, I can't actually take photos inside my house. It is way too dark, so there's no way that I can have random artificial light in my space when I'm taking photos, because I'm doing it outside. But for those of you who have natural light, big windows in your home, you want to make sure that all of your lights are turned off, because if you have your lights on, it's actually gonna cast some funky colors onto your piece, and the white backdrop that you've got going. So that's something to remember. Follow the light, find the area, whether it's inside, outside. If it's inside, it's definitely going to be by a big window, and you don't want direct light. So you want it in the shade, or you want it filtered. Maybe you've got like a really nice curtain that's filtering the light that you can sit behind, but that's something that you would need to find. Now another neat little setting that I found that I'm a pretty big fan of where I live is right in front of my door. We've got these kind of like tropical banana tree looking things. So if I step back and show you the bigger picture, you can kind of see, like, there's our swimming pool. But with the backlighting, and this is the front-facing camera, which I think does create kind of its own natural filter, but I often take photos of my pieces on the body close up, I think it's my AirPod, but that actually creates a nice setting. And you could really find the light. Things are in focus, right? And the back is blurred out just enough. It gives a little bit of visual interest. Like, I wouldn't wear this gray shirt because I just think, A, it looks way too casual and unintentional, and the color just really doesn't do anything for the photograph. So, things to consider if it's on the body. Are you just cropping it? Does it look like an awkward body shot? Is there parts of your face? Are we doing shoulder, hands, things for scale? I would try to avoid like putting in that sort of prop unless you want it there. But this looks like a tropical paradise, and you would never know that it is the front of my building. So just things to know and remember, and really see how not glamorous that is in real life. When you're outside, you want to aim your camera north facing or south facing, because those are the lights that are in the shade, which are soft and light. The east and west direction are going to be harsher. High noon will be the brightest and whitest light, but again, it's going to create that funky shadow. So if you're like completely under a tree that is completely shadowed, then that could work. But if you're looking for like a directional light, high noon is probably not the best. The early morning will be cooler and softer and whiter. Cloudy, foggy days are kind of best to shoot from because it will be the perfect filter. Dappled light is not ideal. Do not take a photo under a tree with a bunch of light peeking through, because it's going to make your piece just look really spotty. Now, if you guys are going to use filters, I do not want you to use a filter on your white background photo, because this is informative. I don't want you to hide any of the details. But if you've got your artistic shot, I am okay with you guys using filters to kind of enhance your piece, or give it a different mood. Just make sure that when you're using a filter, to make it look more natural and not totally like photoshopped, you want to make sure that you're not using 100% of the filter. So if I were to go through in the Camera Plus 2 app, you can, apply your filter and then move it around to not overuse it. Around 5 to 10% of using it is when you will see the filter actually doing something incrementally. Try not to use the digital focus. You can see from there, the more I focus, the more pixelated it becomes, which is not good. So if I want to focus or get closer, I'm going to really get in there. So here I snapped a photo of these large kite earrings, and I'm not totally loving the inconsistency in the white background, so I'm fiddling around again using my Camera Plus 2 app. I'm playing with the exposure, the saturation, the temperature. It felt a little bit too cold for me, and the piece itself was being washed out, so in this case I'm okay with it being slightly warmer. Upping the brightness really helps with the white, and I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to save it. I'm going to save both, and then here's the end product of one of those shots. Looks good.